Good evening, good evening. Hope everyone's doing okay. I am, personally, I'm about peopled out for the day. So, it's probably going to be a bit of a quick show tonight. I've really just got this one topic to talk about. Well, actually, I got two technically. And I just want to come at this disaster, this horrendous disaster, with a little bit of reality, a little bit of actual research. I've already heard a slew of conspiracy theories today, and they disgust me. That's why I'm peopled out today. I am absolutely disgusted that people find nothing better than to come up with the most outlandish nonsense so that they can get video views, so they can get compensated for those video views. To me, it's absolutely disgusting and it's absolutely disturbing. Some of the individuals that were talking conspiracy nonsense clearly hadn't even looked into any of it. They've watched whatever played on the TV news, and that's their education on the situation. So first of all, we really need to set the scene here, because that's probably one of the most important factors of what happened last night. Number one, it was not, I repeat, it was not a UH-60 Black Hawk. It's not what that military chopper was. And in fact, I've seen media do everything they can today to dance around its actual designation. Okay? I think Pete Hegseth today overspoke, is what he did. I think Pete Hegseth today overspoke, and he probably got chewed hard over it. But I put the combination of what Pete Hegseth had to say with other information. I don't even remember where I initially saw it at, but then when I did some digging, I found out that was absolutely the case. And again, without adding this to set the scene, you don't have a scene at all. Yeah, but none of that is even a factor. That this is a very, very, very unfortunate accident. So first, let me explain the helicopter. And I've even got an article here. DC plane crash could have been prevented, says Trump. I'll get into the article later, but what I want to point out here is in the second paragraph, it says the H-60 Black Hawk. They're pretty smooth. They're pretty smooth. That's correct. But it was not, as I said a while ago, a UH-60 Black Hawk, which is the common Black Hawk helicopter that we're used to seeing. This is actually a different variant, a VH-60. What's the difference? Well, I'm sure all of the differences are probably classified information, but I can tell you the difference in their role. The VH-60 is intended for important people. Okay, I'm sure the interior is set up a little bit more aesthetic and a little bit nicer for the passenger or passengers, but at the same time, that aircraft is going to have different types of countermeasures. It's probably going to be a little more heavily armored. The engines are probably going to be a little more higher performing than a standard Black Hawk. There's going to be several differences, some big, some little. that set that VH-60 designation over the UH-60 designation. So why is this important? Well, we have to move on to the next part of this helicopter that would explain to you why that helicopter in particular were used, and I think explains a lot more. There's no conspiracy to this. There's just no conspiracy to this. They were on a training mission, an annual training mission. I want to put that out there because Lord knows there'll be people running with that too. Oh my God, they were doing this, they were doing that. Because people can't help themselves. This is the wrong place. I am the wrong cat to watch if you're somebody that can't help yourself with conspiracies. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say it. Because I am conspiracied out. I am so sick of the nonsense over the past several years so that people can get video views. And they can receive personal perks, whether it be monetary benefit or whatever. Man, one of the worst things we can do is mislead each other. That's one of the worst things that we can do, and I'm not going to do it here. So they were on an annual routine practice mission, and Pete Hegseth came right out and said it, and I bet he regrets it now, that they were on a continuity of government training mission. Now, I made a short video earlier today because, and I'm still astonished, that Donald Trump wasn't straight with the American people about what continuity of government means. Continuity of government in and of itself, the title, the term, what it is, a shell of what it is anyway, is not classified information. You can find it in a quick, easy Google search. And it's something that, honestly, you gotta kind of have it. I mean, it's just one of those things. You have to have some type of a plan. It's not a lot different in a sense than somebody making a will that designates this person as beneficiary and this person as that and this person gets this. Government works the same way. If something major were to happen and, say the president doesn't survive or whatever the case may be, or they don't know who is alive and who's not alive, there is a set of directives that they immediately are supposed to start following that goes down a certain chain of events and chain of people in order to perform continuity of government. That's what it is. It's if something major happens, it's a checklist on who and what does what when. And so this was a normal practice mission for that. So why is that important? Well, the last report said that they were flying at 200 feet. This is where I'm assuming, and I'll tell you right straight up where I begin assuming and what's not assumption. Everything that I said up till now is absolutely not assumption. Those are facts. I am assuming, by the way, there was two things that I thought was awful strange here. Usually when they do missions like this, even practice or what have you, they will turn off their ADS-B and the aircraft will go dark. There will be no beacons blinking. There won't be none of that. And there's plenty of examples of training missions to where they've done just that. However, last night that was not the case. Their ADS-B remained on, as well as you can clearly see from the videos that are out, you can clearly see that the helicopter's lights were on. So it's chugging along at 200 feet. You have this commercial airliner coming in, and its last ping was 350 feet. Here's where I begin speculation. I have a feeling that the pilot, co-pilot, the entire crew of the Black Hawk were probably wearing night vision. And being what it was they were tasked to do, they were keeping their eyes on the ground to make sure they didn't hit something that came up from the ground. I don't think that the pilot of the helicopter had any idea that he was getting ready to fly into the path of an airplane. I think he was looking down. So, there always comes the discussion, who to blame? And again, in speculation, I'm not speculating now. First of all, pilot in charge, pilot in command, however you want to say it. They assume responsibility unless there is some type of a mechanical or some type of electrical issue. As long as the aircraft itself is fine, then it comes down to pilot error. There's no way around that. However, I don't think that the pilot of the helicopter shares the entire blame. Let me go ahead and show you these articles. Didn't know a real good time to put them in. So this is Trump. DC plane crash could have been prevented. The collision of a U.S. Army helicopter and a civilian airliner that killed 67 people could have been prevented, President Donald Trump has claimed, questioning air traffic controllers' actions. The VH-60 Black Hawk helicopter collided Flight 5342. It's supposed to be a width in there, I think. That was on its final approach to Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport on Wednesday evening. Rescue teams have not recovered any survivors from the U.S. capital's freezing Potomac River, which flows adjacent to the airport. It is a clear night. The lights in the plane were blazing. Why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn? Trump posted on his Truth Social platform early on Thursday. And I think that the pilot did. That part's speculation, by the way. That I think that the pilot did. I'll explain that in a second. The president also questioned why the control tower had failed to instruct the helicopter crew what to do. This is a very important part. This is a bad situation that looks like it should have been prevented. Not good, Trump added. Now, Trump went off on a DEI rant, and I'm against DEI as much as probably Trump is. But there's a time and a place, and that was not the time and the place to go off on a DEI rant. Had it been a clear case of DEI causing this, it would have been a little more understandable. But I don't think it was. This other article I've got here. Report says staffing in control tower was not normal at time of deadly air collision. says a report by the Federal Aviation Administration says staffing in the air traffic control tower was not normal at the time of the mid-air collision near Washington. The report was obtained Thursday by the Associated Press. One air traffic controller was doing work normally assigned to 2 people in the tower at Reagan National when the collision happened, according to a report by the Federal Aviation Administration obtained by the Associated Press. The position configuration was not normal for the time of day and volume of traffic, the report said. So let's break some of this down, because there's so many variables here. This was almost the perfect storm of bad circumstance. Pardon me, I started to belch. It truly was. So, first of all, military typically speak on different channels than civilian aircraft. It's very important to note that. In my opinion, speculation, the helicopter pilot was probably monitoring both the military frequency and probably on the other spot, because typically your aircraft radio, you'll have 2 spots where you can put different frequencies in. And in most cases, you can set them up to where they're called dual watch. In other words, you're listening to both frequencies at the same time, but if you were to grab and key up your mic and speak, you're only going to speak out on the one designated frequency that you have set. There's an A, B, you can switch it back, whatever. So, I think what happened was, first, once it was realized that there was a problem, which was already late in the game, if you will, I think the air traffic controller tried to reach the pilot. Now, I would have to totally speculate as to whether or not the pilot of the helicopter tried to speak back. I don't know either way. But, in my opinion, confidence is high that unless he changed channels that he transmitted on, speaking in that mic when he hit the push to talk was only talking to whoever in the military that he was talking to for the operation, not a civilian air traffic control tower. So I think there was a communication barrier there, for one. The last time that both aircraft were pinged, the helicopter was at 200 feet. The CRJ 700 was at 350 feet. That's, good 100 feet of separation. Yet the helicopter still hit the airplane. How? Because I think at the very last moment that the pilot of the helicopter realized that civilian air traffic control was trying to contact him. I think immediately, the moment that the chopper pilot realized that he was on path for another aircraft, I think he yanked hard on the collective to try to get altitude, to get above the situation. And unfortunately, I think it more or less put him right into the path. There is report that the helicopter started to turn right before impact, and I think that was the pilot's second attempt to try to avoid the other aircraft. I think he pulled hard on the collective, tried to gain altitude, and he slammed hard on the rudder, trying to spin it. Unfortunately, both actions were started too late. Again, it's the perfect storm of unfortunate circumstances. I don't think it's conspiracy. I don't think that they were after the Russian skaters on the airplane. I don't think it was any of that. Prepper Dog, I don't think it was a remote control helicopter. My God. It's just a really, really unfortunate accident. And I wish all the energy used by all these self-absorbed individuals that think they deserve getting paid for coming on YouTube or whatever platform and misleading people as a form of entertainment. It's disgusting to me. Maybe they need to take that energy and put it into some thoughts and some prayers. Put it into something worthwhile. It's tragic. 67 people, 67 souls. It's tragic. I really don't think the DEI played a role in this particular situation. I thought it was pretty disgusting for it to be driven in like it was. I'm all about getting rid of the DEI stuff. All about it. But unless there's some type of evidence that that specifically caused an issue here, then it shouldn't be brought up. The biggest question I think that there is right now is why was there only one person staffing that tower? I think if there's a smoking gun, if you will, that's where it is. Air traffic control tower was understaffed. Now, I don't know about a whole lot of different jobs out there in the world. And I don't know how much was changed with the FAA when the DEI nonsense came in. But I can guarantee you that there was enough of it that was left unchanged that some Fruit Loop with 5 different colors of hair that doesn't know from day to day what gender they are, they're not going to get an air traffic controller role. It's not that easy. I used to have a website that we did flight sim on. It was called SimGameIt. Eventually, over time, one of the people that served as vice president on our website, incredible young man, went on, thanks to the servers that I ran and all that, kept his interest into aviation. He went on to become air traffic control. The last I knew, he was in Atlanta, which is like one of the busiest hubs. And I can tell you that it was not a walk in the park for him to be able to get that job. It starts off with you getting your private pilot's license. I mean, it's a very serious commitment to become air traffic control. And I don't think all the DEI crap negated all of that. I'm pretty sure most all of that stayed in place. I think the question we need to ask and focus on is why there was only one person in that tower. I have a sneaky suspicion, again, this is the speculation part, that the individuals in the military chopper had on night vision and they were looking at the ground. They weren't looking up. They were looking at the ground to make sure they didn't hit anything down there. Because that's the whole idea. You fly low, hopefully, stay out of view of radar. By staying low, you also lessen the chances of somebody with some type of say a Stinger missile or something like that, from being able to lock onto you and launch on you. You stay low. That's what you do. You don't make yourself an easy, clear target by getting up high. Again, I think it was just a perfect storm of bad circumstances. And with the tower being understaffed, I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Had there been a second person, for one, they would have identified the two aircraft approaching each other quicker. But then each one of those people in the tower could have been speaking specifically to each one of those aircraft and giving them both instruction to be able to get out of each other's way. We can armchair quarterback it all we want. We can do the hindsight game all we want. But at the end of the day, there just wasn't enough eyes and mouths. And it's unfortunate. Very unfortunate. 67 people. I imagine that doesn't hit a lot of people hard. But I always take my time when there's a disaster like this. And I always give those people time. I truly do give them thoughts and prayers. It's not just a little cliche saying. One thing I damn sure ain't gonna do is get on YouTube and start making conspiracy videos for personal gain. I rebuke all of them that's done that very thing. Very unfortunate incident. Nobody's in positions that they wanted to be in. Person manning the air traffic control tower, I would hate to even think of their mental state right now. they have to be devastated. I think about these things because it keeps me grounded. It keeps me from running off with ego and conspiracy theories. It's a shame. It's a shame. I don't know how much the truth will be told before it's all said and done. I have a feeling that they're going to come to the assumption that it's shared responsibility between the pilot in charge and the air traffic control tower being understaffed. I think that's what it's going to boil down to. As far as any of the other details, especially involving the helicopter, I think they're going to sweep that under the rug. Because for some reason they're scared of you knowing about continuity of government. Just Google it. It's not, the intricate details, of course, those are classified, but the ideal behind it, the operation, if you will, is not. You can go learn plenty about it. Might want to look up Council of Governors while you're at it. That one, they're even more hush-hush about. So I've got one more thing before I mosey on out of here for the week, and I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm just spent. I'm sore, tired. Today was a rainy, dreary day all day, and still didn't take out all the snow. Most of it's gone, but damn it, man, it's been kind of raining most of the day, and I'm so tired of seeing snow. Usually it doesn't get me like that. I'm so sick of snow. It's been a long time, I think, since we've had snow stick around that long, actually. Anyway, I've got another article that's mind-blowing to me. And it makes me think of all the times that we hear about, well, this group of, in many cases, terrorists are using this group as human shields. We hear that all the time. All the time. What you need to understand is that there's a lot of groups labeled a lot of different things that do the same thing. Kiev urged to use kids to make drones in school. Ukraine defense manufacturers suggested dispersing military production across civilian sites, including to school facilities, to protect its weapons-making operations from Russian airstrikes. Alexei Palanchuk proposed that students assemble drones in school workshops as part of a decentralized production strategy. Palanchuk, who owns a defense company specializing in electronic warfare equipment, made his remarks in an interview with Dignitas Fund, a non-profit focused on raising funds for Kiev's military. The interview was published on the NGO's YouTube channel on Wednesday. Okay, so that's what this cat wants to do. Okay. Well, I think that this cat's office needs to be at that school, and I think all of his children need to attend that school. I'm a firm believer of put your money where your mouth is, especially when it comes to sending people to their death. How is this different than the claims of some terrorists using civilians as human shields? We hear that a lot about Hamas. They're not the only ones over there in that same war doing that. But we do hear a lot about Hamas doing it. Are they doing it as often as we're hearing about it? I don't think so. I think there's a lot of propaganda in that. A lot. A lot. And it wasn't that long ago that video, we watched it. Maybe we didn't watch it here on the show, but I know I watched it, and I talked about it. To where the IDF was using an ambulance to conceal who they were when they committed a raid. They just killed an elderly woman for no reason. When they came rolling up, they were in an ambulance. I think rules apply to all. But the idea of using a school to build military weapons, I don't see how that's any different than saying this terrorist or that terrorist is using civilians for human shields. Who's the bad guy? If they're building drones or weapons at a school, and the adversary bombs that school, who's the bad guy? I don't know. I know that as far as the United States is concerned, we need to at least defund our part of this war. And I think that we need to back away from the whole NATO thing. I really do. I support Trump in getting out of the World Health Organization. I think we need to get out of NATO and the UN. And I think we need to just tell Putin, hey, we're done with it. Whatever you do with what they're doing, that's between you and them. I think that entire situation is nonsense. Howdy, Steve. I think the entire situation is nonsense. Should have never even been, that war should have never even started. And all they would have had to have done to prevent that war from starting is keep their word. That's all they would have had to have done was keep their word. But the U.S., I guess, has to renege on about every deal it makes. It's crazy. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here for the week. Try to relax. Try to decompress. What's going on with that plane and that chopper, though, is an extremely, extremely unfortunate accident. There's no conspiracy to be found there. There's just not. Anyway, I will catch you all on Sunday night, God willing. I hope you have a great night and a great weekend. Oh, I hear you, Steve. I am wore out myself, brother. I am wore out myself. Alright, I am going to get out of here. I will see all of you hopefully on Sunday evening. And be careful of the conspiracies. Have a good one. Shalom.